If you've come this far, it means you've reached the end of my 2023 vacation videos. Thank you so much for watching all of these videos. It was just a fun way for me to remember my trip and to sort of have like a little journal of everything that I did on my trip. I realized that I forgot to record a final clip going over my final 2 days in Chicago, so I'm gonna talk about that really quickly. So on my first full day in Chicago, where I didn't have any LeakyCon or Harry Potter events, I went to explore the Navy Pier. So there's 3 divergent filming locations in the Navy Pier. There's a Ferris wheel, obviously, which I took lots of pictures of, which you have probably already seen. There was the like tower where the flag was kept, and the grand ballroom is where the final like fear simulation was. But unfortunately, the day that I went, there was a private event going on in the grand ballroom, so I wasn't allowed in there. Shout out to the security there for being absolute jerks. Here's the thing, like I understand there's a private event, I'm not supposed to be in there. Okay, I get that. But there was no signs for private event, so I didn't realize I was in a private event area until I was like way too far in. Then the guy was being a jerk. He literally chased me out of the building, and I was like, dude, there was no signs? You aren't even giving me a chance to walk out of the building. I'm having to like basically run to get out of the building. So that was an event, but I found a little sign that said like grand ballroom, so I took a picture of the sign. That's the closest I got to that filming location. I saw the train and I saw some train tracks. They weren't any specific train tracks from the movies, but it did give like vibes. If I had like rented a car, maybe I would have visited every spot, but I was like taking Ubers and Lyfts, and I was like, can't really justify taking an Uber and Lyft to like all 20+ locations for the Divergent film in Chicago. So I visited the big one that I wanted to see, and then I just saw some places that gave Divergent vibes. At the Navy Pier, I got Dippin' Dots and sort of killed my gut a little bit, but let's be honest, sometimes I just really crave something other than my protein drinks, and so I risk a stomachache sometimes. Then after we visited those Divergent locations, we ended up going to Chinatown, which was really fun. I only really bought stuff in the first store that I went to. I found like 3 mystery figures in these boxes, and I had no clue what they were, but I was just like really wanting to get something from Chinatown, so I bought these 3 mystery figures. I have a very interesting unboxing of them that it will be up over on my TikTok if it isn't up already. Basically, one of them didn't have clear directions. One of them, the sword didn't fit in the character's hand. And then the other one, the head didn't fit on the body. So they were a little bit like cheap knockoffs that needed some modification before I could fully display them, but it was still super fun. It was weird though, in Chinatown, a lot of stores were selling turtles, like little turtles. And I was like, is that legal? Like you would be in like a souvenir shop with a bunch of like knickknacks and fun stuff to buy to commemorate your time in Chinatown, and then there's little turtles in these like tiny containers, and I was like, what in the world? Is this legal? I mean, the turtles were cute, but I was also like, ethically, is this okay? And then I was pooped, so I went back to my hotel. And then the next day I basically spent the rest of my time in the airport until I caught my flight. The Chicago airport is huge, so I explored it a little bit. There was a bird in there, so I was like watching this bird and like hanging out with this bird a lot while I was there. For some reason, when I was on my trip this summer, I was like, I can be Snow White. I can befriend every single animal I see. Did that mean that my mom was yelling at me to stop trying to pet wildlife? A little bit, yeah, but it wasn't like I was trying to give them bread or hurt them. I was just like saying, can I be your friend, and just holding my hand out like that. And I only really got to pet a bunny, but I tried to pet more, and I tried to pet that bird that was in the Chicago airport. And then for the plane rides, we went from Chicago to Salt Lake, which was one of the worst flights in terms of turbulence that I've ever been on in my life. And with Delta, there's like free messaging on board, and I was texting some people on the flight, and I was like, I feel like I'm literally gonna die. This is the worst turbulence I've ever been in, and I've had a lot of turbulence experiences, so I was crying, and it was very fun. And then we arrived in Salt Lake, and then from Salt Lake to Portland, the turbulence wasn't as bad. I've been to the Salt Lake City airport so many times. I think it's sort of like a hub if you're trying to get like East Coast, like from West Coast to East Coast. I think Salt Lake City is sort of like a hub for Delta. During the plane ride, I only watched one movie. I watched Megan, which is a tad bit overrated, but it was still enjoyable. Low-key though, should I cosplay Megan and like learn the little dance? That might be fun. I don't know. Probably won't do it. Maybe I'll do it. I don't know. But that's the only movie that I watched on the plane. Yeah, I really love going on trips, so I'm very hopeful that I can go on one next year. Although my family doesn't seem to really want to go on another trip with me next year, so like I'm trying to figure out who I can go with. Next year, I would like to do either a new state or do the Disney and Universal parks again. Top priority would be there's an event called Ironton Wizard Fest that happens in Ohio every year. That's like my top priority, the one that I want to do the most. But if not, I really, really, really want to do Universal and Disney in Florida, but that's really far, so if not, then Universal and Disney in California. But also just gonna list it off here, all the different states I still need to visit. If anyone knows any good Comic-Cons or events in any of these places, let me know. So these are all of the states that I've yet to visit. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Mississippi, Missouri, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, D.C., West Virginia, Wisconsin. I want to visit all those places, but if anybody has any recommendations of like fun attractions or Comic-Cons in those states, you should let me know so that I can plan some future trips. Any future trips just really makes me happy, and I plan a lot more than I actually do. I hope all of you enjoyed these vacation videos, and stay tuned for an exciting thing that I did after my trip that I'm gonna make a little like edit of all my clips and pictures together. I went into the Guillermo del Toro Pinocchio exhibit at the Portland Art Museum, so I'm gonna make a little short video about that, and I hope all of you stick around to watch that one. Anyways, until next time, goodbye.